Hey, what's going on everybody? It's your bro here, and in this video I'm going to teach you guys all about making lists using HTML. Let's get into it. In this video, I'm going to explain 3 different types of HTML lists. They are unordered lists, ordered lists, and description lists. Each has their own specific tags. For example, unordered list uses a pair of UL tags for unordered list. Ordered list uses a pair of OL tags for ordered list, and description list has a pair of DL tags for description list. And then I'll give you guys a bonus at the end of how you can make a nested list, which is basically a list inside of a list, but that'll make more sense near the end of the video. Let's begin by creating an unordered list. So this is useful if you need to make a list and the order really doesn't matter, and I'm thinking a perfect example of us using an unordered list is a grocery shopping list. You don't need to buy items within a certain order on a grocery shopping list. So if we need to make an unordered list, we need to use a pair of UL tags. So we need a closing tag and an opening tag. All right, so for each item that you want to add to this list, you need to make a list item. So just type in LI, then the item that you want to add to this list. Let's say that we want to buy ingredients from the grocery store to bake a pizza. Well, one ingredient that we could use is dough or bread. So we could say bread dough. Work with me, guys, all right? So the next item we could add to the list is perhaps tomato sauce. And then make sure you close each of these list items as well. All right? And then let's add some cheese. So list item, cheese, and then let's close this. And how about one more list item? How about a topping? How about peppers? Personally, I don't like peppers on my pizza, but a lot of people do. All right, so let's save this, refresh the page, and here's our list. And by default, these are all bulleted. So that's pretty cool, right? You can also add a heading or title to this list. So let's use perhaps an H3 heading, and you need a closing tag for this. And we'll say grocery list. Let's save this, refresh the page, and it says grocery list. And notice that all the items in this list are indented. So before we get too ahead of ourselves, I'm just going to add a note in my HTML document that just states that this is an unordered list. So I'll post all the code that I have in the comments down below, so feel free to copy this. But I'm just going to leave a comment in case anybody's curious. Actually, having the name of grocery list probably wasn't the greatest idea, because I don't want to confuse anybody. Grocery shopping cart might have been better, but I'll just keep it. Alright guys, so there's a CSS style that I'd like to introduce to you guys at this level. I know that we're in an HTML tutorial and we're going to cover CSS later, but this is actually the perfect time to introduce a CSS topic involving designing lists and changing the bullet points. So don't tell anybody that I'm introducing some CSS topics at this level. Just keep it a secret between us, okay? Alright, so if you want to change these bullet points to something else, you have a few options. So what you're going to do in the opening tag for the unordered list, type in style equals, and then you need a set of double quotes. And this is what we're going to type in within the double quotes. List dash style dash type colon. Now we have a few options to pick from. I'll show you the first. The first is circle. So all of these discs will become empty circles. Another is square. So let's save this, refresh the page, and all of these are now squares. You can also put none in here if you want no bullet points whatsoever, although I do prefer some sort of bullet points. And the original, by default, is disk. So that is the original bullet point that we had too. So that's the basics of an unordered list. Next, I'll show you guys ordered list, and it's going to be a similar process to this. So first, let's create a heading. So how about we create a heading such as a to-do list? And remember, with ordered lists, the order does matter. So I'll give you an example. let's just create a title for this list. Actually, better yet, let's call this my to-do list. All right. So if we want to create a ordered list, you need to use the OL tag, which is short for ordered list. Then we need a closing tag. And it's going to be a similar process where if we want to add an item to this list, we need to use the LI tag, list item. So we need to type in LI and add a closing tag. All right, so what's first on my to-do list for today? Well, personally for me, I need to record a YouTube video. Let's save this, refresh the page, and here's my to-do list, and it has number 1 by default for the first item in your ordered list. So remember that the order does matter. So let's create another item. So LI for list item, and next on my to-do list is go work out. Then let's close this. And here it says number 2 on my to-do list is to go work out. And let's add one last one. LI for list item. And the last thing on my to-do list for today is bake a pizza. Let's save this, refresh the page, and number 3 is to bake a pizza. Now, we also have the capability to change the markings for each of these list items within an ordered list. So what we'll do for the opening ordered list tag, we'll type in type equals, and then within double quotes, we have a few options. So we could say capital A, and this will change our list to the letters of the alphabet, all capitalized. Otherwise, you can change this to lowercase a, save this, and all of these are now lowercase. There's also Roman numerals, so we can use capital I, and these are Roman numerals now. I forgot the name of this, lowercase I. These are, I believe, lowercase Roman numerals. Don't quote me on that, I can't quite remember. And the default is just 1, where you have basically a numbered list starting from 1. And you can also start from a different number as well. Let's say that you want to begin this list with the number 100 for some reason and count up from there. So what you'll do is within the opening OL tag, you'll type in start equals, and then within double quotes, the number that you want to start at. So if we want to start at 100 for some reason, we'll just type in 100 here, save this, refresh, and our first item in this list starts at 100, the number we specified, and each list item, this number will increment by 1 for each list item. And if you change type to a different symbol or numbering system, let's say that we go back to Roman numerals and save this and refresh the page, we have a different symbol for our Roman numerals, and I believe the letter C is 100, so this would be 100, 101, and 102. Actually, what would happen if we went back to the alphabet? I'm actually kind of curious. Oh, so you get double letters. That's kind of cool. But you know what? I don't like that, so let's go back to what we had originally, where type is just 1, and let's get rid of this start attribute here. But just so you know, you have the capability of starting at a certain number, or in this case, like Roman numeral or whatever you're using for your list. All right, so let's save that, refresh this, and we go back to our numbered list. So what I'm gonna do is just leave a note that says this is an ordered list, and we'll move on to description lists then. All right, so description lists. Sometimes they're also referred to as definition lists. Basically, it's a list of terms or items with a description for each specific item. So what we'll do is that we'll create another heading, and how about we create a list of web development languages, mostly because I kind of ran out of ideas. So what we'll type in here is web dev languages, then a closing tag. And then I'm going to copy this comment and change this to description list. All right, so with description lists, you need a DL tag, short for description list, and a closing tag. All right, so there's going to be one change compared to the other lists that we worked with, instead of using li for list item, what you're going to type instead is dt for description term or definition term, you might hear people call it, and then you need a closing tag as well for this. All right, so let's think of a few web development languages. We have HTML, we also have DT, then you need a closing tag, CSS, and then lastly, DT, JavaScript. Except I spelled it wrong. All right. Let's save this and check this out so far. All right, here is our heading, and then we have 3 items, 3 description terms within our description list. Now, if you want to add a description after each of these items in your description list, what you'll do after each pair of these DT tags is add another set of tags, the DD tag. No, that doesn't mean designated driver. It actually is short for description details, or sometimes known as definition details. So we'll type in a closing tag for this as well. So what we'll add in here is the description that we want to add for our HTML list item, or definition term. So what we'll type in here, you can type in whatever you want here basically, but I think I'll type in something that describes what HTML does. So I'll say adds structure to web page. Let's save this and see if it works. Yeah, and we have a description for this definition term or description term. So let's do the same thing for the other terms in our list, in our description list. So we'll type in DD for description details, and then for CSS, this adds style to web page. Then we need to close this. And then JavaScript, DD, then a closing tag, adds functionality to web page. All right, let's save this, refresh, and here we have a description for each term in our description list. So that's basically how description lists work. Okay, it's time for that bonus round. So these are the basic types of lists in HTML: unordered lists, ordered lists, and description lists. So there's a concept of a nested list, which is basically a list that's inside of another list, and you can apply this to any type of list. For example, I'm going to copy our unordered list, the grocery list, and I'll show you an example of a nested list. So what I'll do is change the description for unordered list to example of a nested list. Maybe I'll call this grocery list 2.0. All right, so let's say that I want to add a bunch of different toppings. So what I can do is that I'll change peppers to toppings. All right, so between the list item tags, I can actually create an entirely new list within these 2 list item tags. So I can do any sort of type of list here. So let's say I want another unordered list within here. Well, you can actually do that. So let me make a closing tag for this too. All right, so we have our list item for toppings, and then we're going to put tags for an unordered list between here. Then we're going to add some list items. So let's say that I want to add peppers for the first item. So let's check this out just to be sure it works then. So here, grocery list 2.0, we have bread dough, tomato sauce, cheese, toppings, and then we have peppers underneath our toppings category or list item, and you can see that it has a different type of marking or bullet point. So you can actually add a couple different list items, and it will fall under this toppings list item. So we'll say perhaps mushrooms. Let's save this, try it out, and we have mushrooms, but I spelled that wrong. And how about we add pepperoni? I probably spelled that wrong too, but sue me. All right, let's save that, refresh the page, and we now have pepperoni. So basically, a nested list is this concept of having a list that's already inside of another list. And this nested list doesn't have to be the same type as the list that it's contained within. For example, I could change this to ordered list, and this would work just the same. All of these open circles would become numbers then. So this video is becoming very long. I'll give you a super quick conclusion. You can create an unordered list, a ordered list, or a description list. You can use the UL tag, the OL tag, or the DL tag. And for each item within the list, you can use a list item tag to list it as an item within the list, except for the description list. You can use a DT tag, short for description term, and DD, short for description details. And then you can style these however you want to, depending on what you put within the opening tag for that specific list. And then a nested list is just a concept of having a list that's already inside of another list. So if you guys would like a copy of this HTML document, I'll post it as a comment and pin it to the top then. And if you guys are looking for practice or a project to work on, why don't you guys create your own unordered list, ordered list, description list, and an example of a nested list, and then post it in the comments down below. But yeah, that is everything you need to know to get started using lists in HTML. Hey you, if you enjoyed this lesson, then you can help me help you in 3 easy steps by smashing that like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe if you'd like to become a fellow bro.